It's Lori and Kev, the Halloween show. We've gone pretty far in the Halloween show already, Lori.
We have.
We're uncovering things
that we didn't know existed.
Right. So now we are here with some people who might be able to shed a little bit of light on anything spooky in Rockford. Of course, the author of Spooky Rockford himself, Gary Hill, is here. Yeah, go ahead. How are you, Gary? Good to have you back.
How are you doing?
We're glad you decided to come back. We're glad we didn't scare you off last time.
Oh, no, definitely not. I'd love to come back anytime.
For sure. And you brought a guest with you today. You want to introduce the guest?
This is Kathi Kresol.
Hello.
Kathy, now you're the author of Haunted Rockford and Murder and Mayhem in Rockford.
That's correct.
Now I'm scared.
You know some juicy
we haven't even
stuff.
Started.
So tell us a little bit about your books.
The Murder and Mayhem came out in 2015. It's true crime in Rockford from way back up until about 1960. And the Haunted Rockford came out last fall. And it's the stories that I collected. I do haunted tours here in Rockford. I've been doing them for 14 years. And so these are some of the stories I've uncovered, some of the places we've gone.
Wow. Great. Did you know that you may be in a haunted Rockford building right now?
That's my usual day.
So this is nothing new to you.
Not at all.
Yeah, so we discovered, I had a little bit of a situation last week where I felt a presence in the kitchen and nobody was there. So we've been kind of investigating today. We brought in some paranormal investigators for the Halloween show. And it turns out in the kitchen, things went nuts in there. Their equipment went nuts in the kitchen.
There's something in there, definitely.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Somebody called us and said there was a former DJ here who got into an accident and was killed.
Yeah.
And before they knew that, before our investigators knew that, they called out and said maybe it's a DJ who used to work here and a male. And that things started going nuts when they said that. So that was before we found that out. And
yeah.
So now you're in a haunted Rockford building. So welcome back to Haunted Rockford. So what's next for you guys? Gary, what do you got coming up?
Got a ton of stuff coming from Tales of Wonder and Dread Publishing. Like now I got a thing of mythology that comes out next week called Original Superheroes. And there are a bunch of other books coming out of fiction. And Spooky Rockford 2 will be next September.
Interesting. Maybe include a piece about our building.
Sure. Let's talk.
I'd be happy to help you with that, for sure.
That would be great, Kevin.
Sure. So, Kathy, I want to ask you this, because I believe I asked Gary last time he was here. Spookiest place you've ever been in Rockford?
That's a hard one because I spend a lot of time in haunted places.
Sure.
If you wanted like the most active, probably between Tinker and Coronado. The spookiest, like where I've been the most scared, I actually lived in a house that I had to research, and it had a murder-suicide in, and that was pretty darn scary.
And so you found that out after you moved in, obviously?
Yes, about 10 years in, and then I moved out.
You moved out because of that?
Yes.
For sure, okay.
You know, I think that's very common. A lot of people do end up finding, I mean, not that they find their house is haunted, but if they do, they're out of there. You know, I mean, that would be the number one reason I would move.
Right, yeah. But, you know, we do investigations. I hire teams, and then we break out the equipment, and you get to be the investigator. And Tinker is like never fails to impress us on that. So our next one is November 17th. So if you're brave enough, you guys could come out and join us. We've got Dale Kazmarek from Chicago. He's been doing this a long time. His team is wonderful. We turn out all the lights. We put you into small groups and see what happens. We've actually had people have to leave on these investigations.
That would be me.
Lori would be the one running for the door.
I legitimately have goosebumps. I feel the hair on the back of my neck standing up. Like I'm freaked out.
And,
no,
you know, people think that it's going to be like a watch on TV, and they're like, "Oh, we can do this," and then the lights go out, and something cold and clammy touches them on their back or their neck, and they're like, "We are done."
It's never how you expect it to be on TV, and even I've heard the power of suggestion can make you see and feel things that aren't there. But there's a difference between just being wigged out and actually feeling a living, breathing presence with you that wasn't there before, for sure. So what you're saying is you don't seek these things out necessarily. You're not, because you did move out when you found out there was a presence in your home.
I don't want it in my home, but I seek them out. I travel the country to go to haunted places. And Rockford, I knock on doors and say, "Hey, you got any ghosts?" Every place I go. And
you know what? I believe Jenny and Brandy from in the Dark Paranormal Investigations, who we just had in here, did say something about
said the same thing.
They would rather it not be in their home, but
Right.
they would love to help people out with their situation. So that must be a common thread then.
It is. And I hold a conference, and we meet people from all over the country, and it's very exciting. And we hear about the great places, and then I pack my suitcase and I go.
So now you ask particular questions when you're shopping real estate, right?
I would hope so.
Yes. No, I usually work with a psychic, Sarah Bowker, and she's fantastic. So I take her everywhere. It's like, you feeling anything? Because if it's good, if it's a place I'm visiting, I put it on the tour. If it's a place I want to live, I don't buy it.
So Gary, are you just a writer then, or do you go on these adventures as well?
I used to go sort of independently. If I found out a place was haunted, I'd go in there. A bunch of us went into the Coronado one time when it was closed and with all the lights off, and that's mentioned in the Spooky Rockford book.
Just say, don't worry, the cops don't listen to the show. You're fine.
That's fine. We were there with the managers. So,
okay, so they allowed
good.
it.
We had permission to be there.
It wasn't a B&E. No breaking and entering.
No breaking. But what she said, what you said about asking about the haunted, whether a house is haunted or not.
Sure.
If you look it up, there's actually a legal story in New York State a bunch of years back. Somebody sued because they weren't told that the house was haunted, and the judge ruled that it was not unoccupied when sold, and these people got their money back for the house.
No kidding.
Yeah, Google it, you'll find it.
There's some states that don't require that.
I don't think any state requires it, but they made a case that said, look, the house was not unoccupied.
I think the law in a lot of states is that it's not required that you disclose it unless somebody asks.
Wow.
If they ask, then you must tell, from what I understand. There are some states that have that law, too, that they're like, we don't have to tell you anything. So yeah, I guess you got to watch and ask particular questions, and if the real estate agent is willing to dish on that, that's up to them, I guess. That's very interesting.
You can use a database and put the address in. They have a great one, Genealogy Bank or News Bank, that has newspapers from all over the country. And if you put the address in the keyword search, it'll bring up if there's been a murder or something in the house.
No way. We're going to have to start looking up every address we know, Kevin.
I know. I'm going to look at my address when I get home.
Me too.
Because I've got some feelings about my apartment that I've had since the moment I moved in. I've never been in an apartment with an attic. But this one has a little attic door. And I've found out recently that we are allowed to use it as storage, but I still don't want to open the door because I can't even look at it without feeling weird.
Right.
Is that a thing?
It's a thing.
I think my wife's the same way with attic doors.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I don't know if it's just something that's been planted in my head by movies, because there was an attic door situation in one of those Paranormal Activity movies, so maybe that has something to do with it. It's just my mind playing tricks on me, but something about that attic door, don't like it.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So basements and attics for some reason.
The dark, clammy places. That's what it is.
Or a radio station.
Yeah. Well, this could be a dark, clammy radio station. We've had some floods in here recently and giant spiders and things
normally
like that.
We keep the lights off, so.
Gary and Kathy, I'm afraid we are running out of time, but, whatever. Where can we go to get your books?
All my stuff and listing of my events, and I have a column with the Rock River Times. You can find all of that on hauntedrockford.com.
hauntedrockford.com. Gary?
All my books are at lulu.com/strange sound. You can also find me on Facebook. I've got an author page on there, and Tales of Wonder and Dread has a page on Facebook.
So you're still looking are you still looking for stories from people if you happen to be a writer?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Great.
I'm always looking for submissions.
Awesome. Well, Gary Hill, Kathi Kresol. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Good job, Kevin.
Yeah, I nailed it.
Proud of you.
Thank you very much for joining our Halloween show today. You were a perfect addition.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. It's 104.9 The Morning X.
It's Halloween on The Morning X with Lori and Kev.